Hi everyone. So this is not the first time that I've had to say this, but it has been a minute. Hello. I'm sure some of you guys have been wondering where I've been and what I've been up to, and if you have, feel free to keep watching. I will explain a little bit. But for those who are just excited to get into the story, feel free to use the chaptering to skip ahead. I won't judge you. I get it. I have put that down below as well. So, many of you will probably know that I haven't entirely been gone. I've been around. I've been doing some stuff. Occasionally recording lines for the Dark Somnium, if you've heard me on a couple of his recent videos. I'd also been working on the audiobooks I mentioned several months ago, but I did do those. I will link those down below as well, in case you haven't heard about them and want to check them out. But the main thing that I've been doing on YouTube, at least, is I've been on Dusklight Radio, which is author TJ Lee's channel, if you somehow have not heard about that already. So I'll go ahead and link a playlist of some of those videos that I've been in down below, and also TJ's channel for those of you who want to check it out, because it's very good. There are a couple stories that I've actually fully narrated, including 2 of my own. One of which is Price, which I have covered on the channel before, but one of them is an exclusive that I may have to put on here at some point, but haven't yet, so. A couple videos I haven't narrated, but I've done the intros and outros. Those of you who know Dusklight Radio at all will know that TJ has a character named Everett Blackwell, who is the host of Dusklight Radio, and I play his twin sister, Evelyn Blackwell. So I've written and recorded a couple of those little broadcast intros, and those have been super fun, so those will be in the playlist as well. But yeah, so I haven't actually been doing stories for my own channel, namely because they're so hard to find. If anyone has any stories they want me to read, please feel free to send them to me. My emails are also in the description. I will welcome being sent along some submissions. That would be great. Can't guarantee I'll actually read them, but it'd be helpful to have something to screen. But I've also just had a lot going on in my personal life, as I always do. In the past, it's been mainly mental health issues, and this time around it is kind of half that, and also half working a lot. And somehow there's a third half where I have like almost a social life, so there's that too. The main thing is the job that I've been working for the past 3-ish years or so. The owner of that business has retired, and it's a small business, locally owned, so I worked very closely with him. And so it was very sad to see him go, but before he left, he actually offered me a transfer of ownership, so I actually now own his business. So that's the main thing I've been working on. He's just sort of getting that up and running, this online business. So it is very much been a weird few years, but mainly it's just been hard to find extra time to dedicate to actually working on these. So, yeah, that is most of it. I am, as always, tentatively really hoping I'm able to keep producing content on here. If not every week like I did before, then at least every once in a while. And I promise I won't do a lengthy explanation like this in front of all of them, but I know that my disappearing often enough has been discouraging for some people, and I just want to sort of clear the air here a little and say that I'm really sorry for not putting more of myself into this channel. I can't promise that will change. It's always been a hobby to me, ever since the beginning, so it's just about what I find fun to read and do, so I'm not sure what's gonna become of it, but for now, I have a video for you, so there's that, at least. I love you guys. Thank you for being here and for listening to this and just being yourselves. I hope everyone is doing okay, all things considered, in this crazy ass world we live in right now. And last but certainly not least, enjoy the story. Want to feel nostalgic real quick? Cue the intro. Greg Mitchell had always found comfort in broken things. In a world of sleek touchscreens and wireless everything, his cramped radio repair shop in the narrow lanes of Cheltenham stood as a defiant anachronism, cluttered with vacuum tubes, resistors, and the ghost of technology's past. The locals called him peculiar. He preferred to think of himself as a curator of forgotten frequencies. The shop itself was a testament to his obsession. Shelves lined with radios from every era, their dusty facades telling stories of BBC broadcasts and late-night Radio Luxembourg transmissions. Housed in a Victorian terrace building with its original sash windows and creaky floorboards, the shop seemed frozen in time. The air perpetually smelled of solder and peachy tips, and the ancient radiator clanked and hissed like a temperamental old cat. It was on a dreary Tuesday evening in October when everything changed. The rain had begun falling steadily since morning, drumming against the window panes, and Greg was preparing to close up shop. He just finished repairing Mrs. Henderson's 1960s Bush radio when he noticed something odd tucked behind a stack of repair manuals. A radio he didn't recognize. The device was unremarkable at first glance. A simple black box with no manufacturer's marks or model numbers. Not a Roberts or a Hacker or any British make he recognized. Its surface was smooth, almost organic, with 3 basic knobs and a dial that glowed with a faint, greenish light. Greg frowned, trying to remember where it had come from. Had a customer dropped it off? He would have remembered that. He kept meticulous records of every repair job in his leather-bound ledger. Curiosity got the better of him. He plugged in the radio and a soft hum filled the air as it warmed up. The sound was different from the usual electrical buzz. Deeper, somehow. More alive. Greg turned the frequency dial, moving through stations of Radio 4 discussions, Radio 2 oldies, and local adverts, until he reached the dead zone between channels. That's when he heard it. Whispers in the static. Most people would have written it off as interference, but Greg had spent 30 years working with radio equipment. He knew every type of atmospheric disturbance, every kind of signal bleed. This was different. The voices were too structured, too deliberate. He leaned closer, adjusting the fine-tuning knob with practiced precision. The whispers became clearer.
Breaking in through the back garden. She's upstairs watching Coronation Street. Doesn't know he's there.
Greg's hand froze on the dial. The voices were describing a break-in, happening right now at the Thompson house 3 streets away. He could hear the fear in the whispered words, the urgency. Should he ring 999? What if he was wrong? But then again, what if he wasn't? His hand shaking slightly, he dialed emergency services and reported a suspicious person at the Thompson residence. The next morning's Gloucestershire Echo confirmed everything. An attempted break-in had been thwarted when police arrived just in time. Sarah Thompson was quoted as saying she had been home alone watching telly and hadn't even known someone was trying to get in. Greg couldn't focus on his work the next day. The radio beckoned to him like a siren's call. That evening, after his last customer left, he turned it on again. The whispers were waiting for him.
Arguing about the pension again. He doesn't know about our building society account. The council leaders meeting him at the premiere. No one's supposed to know. She's been worrying about the NHS test results.
Day after day, Greg listened. The voices revealed the town's hidden machinery. Affairs, embezzlement, small betrayals, and quiet desperation. He began keeping a journal, documenting each revelation. Sometimes he would verify the information in roundabout ways, asking casual questions at the local pub or reading between the lines in the echo. The voices were never wrong. But knowledge, even secret knowledge, comes with a price. Greg's sleep became fragmented, haunted by static-filled dreams. He stopped taking new repair jobs, telling customers he was backed up with work. Dark circles formed under his eyes, and his hands developed a slight tremor that made soldering difficult. Even his regular morning cuppa couldn't shake the fog from his mind. Then, one evening, as the autumn rain pelted against the windows, the whispers changed their focus.
Greg Mitchell sits alone in his shop. His tea has gone cold. He hasn't called his sister in for 3 months.
His blood ran cold. The radio knew his name, knew him.
He's afraid. His heart rate is increasing. He's thinking about unplugging the radio.
Greg yanked the plug from the wall, but the whispers continued, now coming directly from the speaker without power.
He doesn't understand yet. He thinks he can stop listening, but he's already part of the frequency.
He backed away from the workbench, knocking over a mug of screwdrivers. The metallic clatter seemed to amuse the voices.
He's becoming erratic, just like his father before the motorway accident outside Bristol.
"Stop it," Greg whispered.
He's talking to us now. Good. That's what we wanted.
The voices were growing stronger, more numerous, overlapping like a crowd at Piccadilly Circus, all speaking at once. Greg grabbed a hammer from his toolbox. This had to end.
He thinks he can destroy us. Doesn't realize we're already inside.
He raised the hammer above the radio. "Stop!" The scream came from everywhere and nowhere, a burst of audio feedback that made his teeth ache. The shop's fluorescent lights flickered, and for a moment, everything went silent, except for the steady drumming of rain outside. That's when Greg saw his reflection in the shop window, illuminated by the sodium glow of the street lamp outside. Except it wasn't quite his reflection. The figure standing behind him was paler, its edges somehow less defined, like a photograph slightly out of focus. And it was smiling.
We're not done yet.
the reflection whispered, its voice carrying the same static-filled quality as the radio. Greg tried to run, but his body wouldn't respond. The world around him began to blur, reality breaking apart like a bad telesignal. He felt a pulling sensation, as if every atom of his being was being drawn toward the window. "No," he managed to say, but it was too late. The reflection reached out, its hand passing through the glass like fog on the moors, and grabbed his wrist. The touch was electric, sending waves of numbness up his arm. The last thing Greg Mitchell saw was his own face, smiling back at him as he was pulled into a world of endless static. His doppelganger straightened its collar, picked up the shop keys, and walked out into the rainy Cheltenham night, leaving behind only the faint sound of radio interference and a cold cup of tea. In the days that followed, none of the customers at the radio repair shop noticed anything different about Greg Mitchell. If he seemed a bit quieter, a bit more distant, well, he'd always been a peculiar sort. And if sometimes late at night, passers-by heard whispers coming from the shop's darkened windows, voices that sounded like static speaking in Greg's voice, they hurried past, clutching their coats tighter against the autumn chill. For in the world behind the glass, in a dimension of pure signal and noise, the real Greg Mitchell screamed soundlessly, his cries lost in an eternal sea of static, forced to watch as something wearing his face lived his life. And sometimes, on particularly quiet nights, when the rain fell just so, you could almost hear him in the white noise between radio stations, whispering a desperate warning that no one would ever understand. As always, a huge, huge thank you to all of my revenants and poltergeists, Razor Raptor, Imugi, and Rye Dandel. Your contributions are so appreciated, and thank you from the very bottom of my heart.